Yeah, welcome everybody. Again, happy to see you all. We would like to extend a very warm welcome to our fourth breakout session for the theme, the impact and consequences of technology. I'm Marvin Wong. I'm a language assessment consultant for the British Council, and I'll be the host for this session. And with me today is my colleague, Chris Horn, who will be our co-host. Before I introduce our presenters today, I'd like to remind you that we will be recording this presentation and uploading it to our lobby platform later today. And if you have any questions during the presentation, leave a message in the chat box and we will address them after the presentation. So without further ado, let me introduce our two presenters. We have Hilda Chayani and Nadia Hani, both teaching staff from the Polytechnic Negeri Malang, Indonesia. Malang, sorry. Hilda completed her PhD in TESOL in 2015 at the School of Education, University of South Australia, whereas Nadia completed her MEd in TESOL in 2018 at the College of Education and Health Professions, University of Arkansas. So with that, I'd like to hand over to Hilda for today's presentation. So Hilda, are you ready?
Yes, we're ready. Yeah, but okay, Nadia will start the presentation.
Oh, okay, yeah. Nadia. All right, then over to you.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Marvin. So the title of our today's presentation is The Application of Android-based E-Rubrics app for peer and self-assessment in writing and translation courses. So we will start. Give me 1 second. All right. We will start with the first half of our presentation with the background, and Hilda will be presenting the background. Hilda, please,
okay, thank you.
Yours.
Thank you very much, Nadia. I would like to say hi to everybody here, all of you. Thank you so much for joining our presentation today. Actually, this research has been done together with me, Hilda, Nadia, and Ardian, and our co-presenter Ardian is apologizing for not joining us at the moment, and say hi to you all. I would like to tell everyone here is actually the purpose of our presentation is gaining feedback from you and gaining comments from you in order to improve or to continue our research for next year. So we plan to develop this electronic rubric or digital rubric in the next research or next year's research. So the background is that this research has been inspired by students who need to do peer assessment or gaining some feedback from their friends or their peers in translation courses. Here, as we know that feedback is regarded as central component in education, and it's crucial to students' learning. Peer assessment has been seen as a method for delivering feedback fairly and efficiently so far. And it has been subject of considerable research interest for more than 3 decades. So people have been doing lots of research in this particular area. So why students need to be involved in peer assessment for gaining some constructive feedback of their work, just like as what we have done here in the translation course. Usually when in the translation course, the feedback is only given by the teacher. So the teacher gets very tired and exhausted, but therefore we do this kind of peer feedback in order to limit that. And in translation and writing course, which are considered as the practical courses here in our institution, Polytechnic Negeri Malang, students need to be guided to do self-assessment as well, in order to know better themselves and in order to finally improve their skills, their writing skills and their translation skill. Therefore, the assessment here is workable solution to the problem that we face for providing feedback to our students. Besides, it reduces the burden of the teacher. It's also giving their practice, real practice to get involved in the teaching and learning activity. And we use rubric here because it is also considered as effective instrument for assessment. It provides consistency and fairness. This clearly indicates that achievement criteria across all the components of any kinds of student work, from written to oral visual in rubrics, can be used in marking assessment, also involved in past participation and gives overall grades here. So we use Android because all of our students mostly use Androids. So it's a friendly platform, and also it's affordable. Therefore, we developed Android-based E-Rubric for peer assessment just because of that. Could you please move on to the next? Yeah. So here is some problems. Here are the problems. The first is, how is electronic rubric-based Android designed to facilitate peer assessment? The second is, how is the electronic rubric implemented in peer and self-assessment activities, and what is the result of the survey? So basically, we are trying to find out the steps of designing, and also how is it implemented, how is the rubric, the electronic rubric, implemented in the classroom, and then the users feedback, or the user satisfaction feedback. Next. So seen from the literature review, we know that here rubric is a tool or device, assessment device listing some criteria along the level of quality. It has some criterion, and the function is it provides objective and also consistent evaluation to minimize the different grades, even when multiple graders are involved. And like we involve the students, we have the target that it should be done like in a standard way, then in a consistent evaluation. That is our aim. And the contents of rubrics, there are some checklists using yes, simple yes or no, and also Likert scale decision for each criterion. That's the general information about the rubric. Nadia, could you please go on to the next? Yeah, so seen from the types of rubrics, we know here from Brookhart and Nitko 2008, there are two types. The first is analytic versus holistic, and the first analytic, that is the one that we are using for our electronic rubric, is we have each criterion which is evaluated separately. It has more advantages. Actually, it gives diagnostic information to us, the teacher, and gives not just formative, but also it's also good for summative as well, and it's very adaptable to be used for both formative and summative. However, to design that, it needs more time rather than the holistic rubric. And holistic, it includes all the criteria or dimension, all are evaluated simultaneously. The advantages is it's faster to be used and than analytic, and requires less time to design. But the weakness is that it's not good for formative assessment, and somehow like single overall score does not really communicate all the information, right? In analytic, it's somehow detailed. And if we see the rubric from a description of performance, we can classify generic versus task specific. Generic is The description of work gives characteristics that apply to whole family of tasks such as writing or problem solving, and it has benefit that teachers can share with students explicitly, linking assessment and instruction as well. We can use the same rubrics for several tasks and assignment. However, the disadvantage is the lower reliability at first than the task-specific rubric, and it requires practice to apply well. And the task-specific, which is quite detailed and specific, the description of work refers to specific content of a particular task, such as for giving answer, giving conclusion. Somehow it's quite specific purpose. And the advantage, it makes scoring easier and faster, less time for use. And the disadvantage is that we cannot share it with students because the students will give it away to their friends. So we need to write the rubrics for each task here. So that is about types of rubric. Could you please carry on for the next slide, Nadia? Okay, here is the study of two remarkable results by Johnson and Sinby 2007 reported after reviewing a meta-analysis study of 75 articles. They found that rubrics can improve performance assessment, especially for analytical rubrics, yeah, as we discussed just now. And rubrics can promote learning and also improve instruction. Another discussion here that the impact of e-rubric assessment, we can classify, it has supported some research. We classify into some formative and summative here, that e-rubric assessment for both formative and summative assessment, they can be used for that, just like Johnson and Sinby 2007 and others here. And also for peer assessment, just like research done by Perez, Gallen, and friends, that e-rubric for peer assessment is useful for doing the peer assessment. And self-assessment is a study done by Stephen 2014. And here is also to improve soft skill. Halo Garcia et al. 2018 found that e-rubric can be used for measuring soft skills in art subjects. And the use of digital rubrics has benefits. Campbell 2005 reported it has benefit to as opposed to the manual rubric, with some obvious advantages like facilitating feedback and reflection on learning. And here students experience greater interactivity rather than using the manual rubric. Here, the processing of big data here is somehow challenging with the emerging of technologies so far. So here the methods we use, yeah, we come to the method right now. Yeah, so we are using design-based research, which generates outputs delivering from the integration of theory and product-based particular units, which actually here is the DBR is aiming, it's not just making rubric, but we want to also use how we use that in the classroom. So it's a mixed method actually. So we include two classes of last semester, not this semester, but last semester. It's actually at the beginning of the pandemic. So it was quite funny because we didn't expect the pandemic came, but this rubric has helped us a lot to face the what is it, the mode, the new online mode here, because so far we've never known that this pandemic happened, and we have a study from home, work from home, so it facilitates us in doing that activity. We employed some data collection activities here using questionnaires, semi-structured interviews, focus group discussion, tests, and journals. Interviews and focus group discussions were conducted to obtain data for need analysis and users' feedback. And we also did it to raise some ideas and also some experience of the students in doing or in implementing this peer assessment in the practical level, as well as to measure the satisfaction. Here we use only online survey using Google Form. Yes, Nadia, can you please go to the next slide? Yeah, so we come to the findings here. Are several results. I think several results. The first is the stages of designing electronic rubric. The first is need analysis. As we informed before, that first of all, we conducted need analysis in order to gain some early feedback from our students at what did they need in translation and writing class. What sort of rubric was the previous rubric already good for them, or we need to improve what sort of rubric that actually facilitates or supports their use, and if they are involved or they take part in an assessment, what sort of rubric that they can use. So we did the need analysis, then we developed the rubric. We have these 3 researchers, and we work with experts here. We've got the IT expert. Together we were making this rubric, electronic rubric. Then we create the electronic rubric application. So next stage. In the next slide. Yeah. So after that, after it was ready, then we implement that to the student. Actually, we had some training before the implementation. Then after implementing that to the 2 classes, the classes belong to Nadia actually. Then we gain some users feedback. And after that, after we gain the feedback, we refine the product. After we refine the product, then we ask or we share. We did the survey, the online survey to find out the user satisfaction. For the next result, I think that will be continued by Nadia. Nadia, time is yours.
All right, thank you, Hilda, for the wonderful presentation. And I will continue with the result 2 from the E-Rubric implementation. So we trained students to use the application in one meeting. And then after training the students, they implemented the application in peer assessment using this rubric. They did it in 2 topics. Yeah. And then after implementing the peer assessment using the E-Rubric, the student had to exchange the work. So they did the assignment in class, and then they exchange, the teacher will pair them. So they work in pairs, and each pair will exchange the work, and then they assess their friend's work. So they are doing peer assessment here. And after they're finished with the peer assessment, they return the work to its respective owners while they're doing the conference. So the conference here is when they do the negotiation. So they exchange the reason why they assess their friends in such a way, and then they also give some suggestion and feedback how to improve their work based on the assessment they give to their partner. And then after conducting the conference, each student needs to reflect on their learning. So the objective of the self-assessment here is each student is able to figure out their strength and their weaknesses, and in what room they're able to improve again. So the result of the peer and self-assessment is then sent to the teacher. And then the last stage is the teacher will make the final evaluation. Sorry, I think somehow it's getting stuck here. I'm not able to move okay. So this is how our rubric looks like. So this is the user interface here, as you see from the screen. And then each student's experience in peer and self-assessment. So they are confused to fit the case they found in their partner's writing with the criteria in the rubric. Yeah, so there are several criteria in the rubric, and sometimes students get confused whether these criteria can be categorized into good or fair or poor. So they're still confused with that. And then the next experience is they somehow complained that they get low score from their partner. Well, they think that their work is not, it's not bad. So they told us that, well, I think my work is not that bad, but why I got bad score from my partner? So some of our students complained that. Okay, and then the next experience is they feel difficult to choose the right scoring range, such as between 10 or 15, because they don't know whether it's their friends deserve to receive 10 or 15. Okay, and then after all those stages were conducted, we sent a survey to our students, and this is the result of the satisfaction survey. So in terms of usefulness of the app, 51 students, more than half, agree that this app is useful. And then in terms of the ease of the use, 53% of students strongly agree that this app is user friendly. So they didn't find any obstacle in using the app. And number three is in terms of the apps look. 53% of students mentioned that the app looks attractive for them. And then interaction or engagement between the user and the rubric, 64% of students agree that they found interaction between user and the rubric. And then the fifth result of the survey is excitement or motivation in using the app. Again, 53% students agree that they are motivated in using the app. And in terms of novelty or creativity of the app, 60% students are strongly agreed that this was the first time for them to use an E-Rubric application. And there was also,
Sorry to interrupt. This is Marvin here. Just
sure.
You of the time.
Okay.
Just to remind you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Marvin. I will just go quickly with this. So this is the feedback from the students for our project improvement, but we were not able to accommodate all of the feedback from students because of several limitations. So now I will move to the discussion. So there are 5 points in this discussion. The first one is that the design of this app needs a long process because we had to work with our IT expert. So we had to go back and forth from students to our IT expert. So after training students to use this app, we found out that there was something to improve. So we went back to our IT expert for improvement. Then the second discussion is the design of this app considers theories of self and peer assessment. And then the third point is that this app facilitates peer and self-assessment, which further promote teaching and learning, develop students' critical thinking, give and receive feedback, negotiate meaning through conference, and help students reflect on their learning. The fourth point is the training session was actually not very easy because of working from home setting. So, and at the limited time. Yeah, and the fifth discussion is students felt overwhelmed with using multiple devices because they had to check their friends' work in Microsoft Word, and then they had to go back and forth from the Microsoft Word to this application. So the conclusion here, the developed E-Rubric app is useful for collaborative works to determine each other's strength and weakness. And the Android platform offers handy and engaging experience for completing the assessment. And teachers need to pay attention to the heterogeneity of students. And the implication here, revision of rubrics is very important to improve the criteria, students' quality of work, and as students reflect on their difficulty in assessing and scoring their partner's work. And this e-rubric can be shared and articulated feedback with colleagues. So it's not only applied to writing and translation courses, it can be applied to other courses also. So, and the third is teachers tend to associate a set of rubrics to one assignment only, but it can actually be applied to more than one task. And recommendation. So this app was conducted in translation and writing courses, which are productive skills. And further study, future study needs to be carried out to find out a method or app to help students do peer assessment in receptive skills, such as reading and listening, because receptive skills are a little bit tricky to assess formatively. And then this app needs to be developed in such a way that all platforms can use it. Currently, we only use Android, but we're hoping in the future it can be developed for students who use Apple or who use a laptop. So it's web-based application. And then the third recommendation is more subjects need to be utilized in this Android-based e-rubric. All right, thank you very much everyone for your attention. I will stop sharing, and yeah, thank you for the host today.
Thank you, thank you. So we still have maybe 2 minutes. If anybody has any questions, they can post it in the chat box.
I'm really sorry, Marvin, that actually I already answered some questions. Yeah.
Ah, excellent.
That was question from Belinda. Yeah, it was about can we get the app freely? Yeah, we plan to put that app freely in Google Play. However, after we had a kind of series of supervision from the institution that we plan to submit it for patent, and they said like we cannot put this in Google Play before it is granted. That's therefore we need to wait until and usually for patent we cannot that what is it? We'll do it later after it's granted. So we cannot do that before it's granted. Therefore, we plan to actually just because of that the regulation that we cannot do it at the moment, but we plan. Yeah.
And thank you. Sorry to interrupt. I'm afraid we are out of time. So.
Oh. So sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
I'm sorry as well.
Time is flying.
Yeah. So
thank you.
Thank you, Nadia and Hilde, for sharing. That was very informative.
Thank you, Marvin.
For attending. Next, there's a panel discussion in a plenaries and panel discussion webinar room. It is on evidence-driven influence affecting change in educational policy. So hope to see you then. And thank you once again to our presenters, and bye-bye.
Thank you
Bye.
very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Marvin. Thank you, Christopher Horn. And bye.
Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.